Hi everyone and welcome to this edition of this week's TCS Student News. I'm your host Jayla.
And I'm your host Kevin. Let's get into the news.
Our first topic for today is COVID. As we know, COVID cases have surpassed 11 million in the United States and the cases are only growing. But don't fear because Pfizer is the first company to report a 90% successful vaccine last week. Moderna is the second company to report a successful vaccine on Monday. Moderna's vaccine is said to be 94.5% effective based on early results. Moderna will be charging the government from $32 to $37 per dose, and Pfizer will not be charging the government for the vaccines, but the government is willing to pay Pfizer $1.5 billion for 100 doses. Although Pfizer and Moderna were the first to announce early data on a vaccine, 10 other companies are also working on a vaccine in hopes to stop the deadly virus. According to the Food and Drug Administration, the COVID vaccine should be at least 50% effective. Could this be a start of stopping the virus? Well, according to researchers, both Pfizer's and Moderna's vaccine have not caused any deadly symptoms to patients who have volunteered to take the vaccine. All we can do is hope that a vaccine is successful and comes soon.
While here on Earth, researchers are developing a vaccine to combat the pandemic, four researchers have been successfully sent to the ISS with the help of the Falcon 9. The Falcon 9 is a shuttle that, along with the Crew Dragon capsule, was developed by SpaceX for NASA. SpaceX launched the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon capsule Sunday evening. The shuttle contained astronauts Michael Hopkins, Victor Glover, Shannon Walker, and Soichi Noguchi. During the 6-month stay on the ISS, the astronauts are slated to run a vast array of experiments, including research into how microgravity affects human heart tissue. They will also be attempting to grow vegetables to discover food sources that could be sustainable in deep space missions. The docking on the ISS went successfully, with the Crew Dragon occupants docking late Monday evening. This launch would have been seen by Elon Musk, the founder of SpaceX, but he was quarantining due to a mild case of the coronavirus. There is significance behind the launch itself. This is the first launch sending astronauts to space on U.S. soil in nearly a decade. Prior to this, astronauts would have had to hitch a ride in the Soyuz capsule. This is also the first space shuttle to be owned by a private company. This means that not only astronauts, but private researchers and even wealthy tourists could get a ride up to space.
Now, let's get into TCS Student News.
Last Friday, we had our second art session. We used various materials, from pencils to markers, crayons, and a few pens, to put together the final plans for our paintings. Some of us decided to add a little bit of color to our piece, while some of us left it monochrome. Mr. Tom even put on some jazz in the background to help us relax. Personally, I found the session to be very calming, and I can't wait to see what everyone else made during our final art session.
I found the art class very interesting and calming. I had a lot of fun working on my art. Thank you, Mr. Tom, for the amazing art class. We would like to give a shout out to our hard-working teacher, Mr. Noah. Mr. Noah has been working as a tutor at the school since fall of 2016 when he was 19 and a sophomore at Johns Hopkins. He worked for 3 years when he then decided to work at the community school as a full-time teacher. Mr. Noah mainly works with the freshman class teaching English, science, and geography, but because of COVID, the community school does not have a freshman class as of right now. But hopefully when the virus slows down, we may have another freshman class. Mr. Noah also works with older students teaching the college writing course. This year, Mr. Noah is working with all the students teaching world history. Mr. Noah also does other things other than teaching. He prepares all the curriculum for all the courses. He helps supervise the Johns Hopkins work study students. He also supervises the AmeriCorps Vista service member. And this year, Mr. Noah is working with the study students with digitizing the curriculum. I would like to say that everyone at the community school really appreciates everything you do for us. Thank you, Mr. Noah, for a wonderful 2 years, and I hope to have more with you.
Thanks, Mr. Noah. You're definitely among one of the nicest teachers I've ever had. Finally, we would like to thank everyone who donated lunch this week. Thank you, Miss Kate, for the baked pasta, applesauce, and cookies last Wednesday.
Thank you, Miss Christina, Manuel's sponsor, for the salty papa last Thursday.
Thank you, Miss Sam, for the meat lasagna with a side of veggies and chocolate chip cookies last Friday.
Thank you, Miss Carol, for the meatball subs on Monday.
Thank you, Miss Peg, for the chili and corn casserole with fruit. And that wraps up this edition of TCS News. See you next week.